Hello everyone and welcome back. So as you are all aware of, we had started with the topic risk assessment and management of the toxicological risk in the earlier lectures, in which we have covered the introduction about the several terms pertaining to this risk assessment and management. Okay, so we have seen what hazard means, what is a risk, what is risk management, what is risk assessment. Okay, so we had started with the risk assessment process. So we have seen that there are 4 different stages in the process of risk assessment, wherein we characterize that particular risk. Okay, so we identify what is the hazard which is involved. We characterize that particular hazard in the next step. Okay, so hazard identification, as the term implies. So here we identify exactly what are the potential chances of that particular substance or chemical under test for producing certain adverse effects. So that is done. Identification of the hazard is done in the first step. Okay, the next step is to categorize that particular hazard. So here, depending upon the assessment of the responses which are produced upon exposure to a particular level of the chemical, the characterization of that hazard is done. Okay, how damaging it may be, or what type of adverse effects it may produce. Okay, so we shall continue with this process of assessment. We will go to the next step, that is the third step involved, that is the exposure assessment, and we will also cover the risk characterization. Okay, so coming to the exposure assessment. Okay, so as the name implies, here we are finding out what are the different chances of exposure which may take place to the human beings. Okay, so we will study in detail what are the different ways and means by which the exposure can take place. Okay, and how exactly you are supposed to estimate the exposure. Okay, may it be in the human beings directly, or it may be through the environment. Okay, so we will also assess the exposure towards the environment also, because anything entering into the environment, obviously it will find its way to the human beings, right? Anything which is exposed to the environment, it will get exposed to the human beings also. Okay, so here in exposure assessment there are 2 parameters which are studied: human exposure and the environmental exposure. Okay, now what exactly is done in this exposure assessment? Okay, so here we are conducting certain direct measurements of that chemical in certain media. Okay, say for example in the human beings, okay, wherein human exposure is involved. So you need to measure the exact exposure levels which have taken place to the human beings. Okay, so what is the amounts which have been entered into the body? Okay, now how you will measure or how you will estimate that amount of this particular hazard which you have identified? Okay, so how you will estimate that amount? That is by measuring the amount or the level of your substance under study in the blood. So but blood levels are checked, whether it is present in blood, or if at all it is present, what are the levels which are present in the blood or urine or in the exhaled air. So that will give you an idea of the exposure in the human beings. Even the intake is also measured, maybe through the food or drinking water. So how you will measure this intake? That is by measuring the amount of the substance in the ambient medium, that is in the air, water, soil, or total diet. And this intake you can relate to the uptake by using certain simple models. Okay, so how the exposure in these particular medium will result in uptake in the human beings. So some simple models are created to study the possible intake of this particular substance. Okay, so certain models are designed to study these particular exposures. Okay, so how the dispersion of this particular substance is taking place from the source. Okay, how it is getting transported through the medium, that is either in the air or water or soil or food, or how the transfer in between the media is taking place, that is fugacity model. Okay, so we'll come to these models in detail, each one of this. So there are 4 different models which have been set up to study the movement, okay, as far as the substance is concerned, so that you can predict the exposures which may take place. Okay, so these models include the simple dilution models, equilibrium models, dispersion model, and transport model. Now let us see one by one what these models are exactly and how the measurements are done. Okay, coming to the first one, that is simple dilution models. Okay, so here the substance, the amount of substance, okay, which is present in the effluents. Okay, so here certain simple calculations will lead to the amount of substance which may be present in the effluent medium. Okay, so here how you can measure this amount? By dividing this concentration in an effluent by the certain dilution factor, or the chemical release rate is divided by the bulk flow rate in that particular medium. So this is how you can predict the levels of the chemicals which are present in certain medium. Again, the next model is the equilibrium model. So this particular model predicts the distribution of the chemical in the environment, different phases of the environment, based on the partitioning ratios. Okay, that is maybe depending upon its concentration gradients. Okay, it may get transferred from one medium to another medium. It may get partitioned in between the 2 mediums of the environment. Or fugacity, that is the escaping tendency of a chemical from one environment phase to another environment. So from air, for example, it may enter into the groundwater and so on. Okay, so this is to do with the equilibrium model. The next one is the dispersion model. So here dispersion model, it predicts the reduction in the concentration. Supposing if at one particular point there is a source of this particular chemical from where it is emerging. Okay, so here what is done? Monitoring of the decrease in the concentrations from that source is measured, okay, with some simple calculations, and that will predict the exposure through different ways and means. The last one is the transport model. So here in this particular model, the concentration changes over a certain distance is measured, okay, or it is predicted. So it can represent the dispersion from one medium to another, or biochemical degradation. This may also result in changes in the concentration, or maybe the chemical might have got absorbed. So this will also result in the changes in the concentration. Okay, so transport model, it predicts the changes in the concentration of that particular chemical over certain distances. Now let us see how exactly, what are the different ways and means by which the human exposure can take place. Okay, so either here there may be a deliberate exposure. Okay, deliberately some chemical may get exposed to that human beings. Okay, say for example, if you have introduce some plant protection products. Okay, so many pesticides are available which are sprayed onto the crops. Now why they are sprayed onto the crops? To protect the crop from the insects, so that they should not damage the crops. But while you are spraying the crop with the chemicals, with the pesticides, what will happen? Obviously the insects might die, but the residue of that particular pesticide will remain onto that crop, right? So sometimes what may happen, the workers who are spraying these pesticides, they may get exposed, or the people who are handling the crop, after the spraying is done, or the consumers who are ingesting these crops may also contain some residues till it reaches the consumers. Okay, or say certain non-target species which are eating the crops, maybe certain kettles which are grazing on that particular crop may consume that pesticide. Okay, so likewise indirectly the exposure to that particular chemical may take place. Okay, so this kind of exposure is the deliberate exposure. So you are deliberately exposing this particular pesticide to certain environmental compartment from which it may get exposed to the humans. Okay, so this is the diagrammatic representation about how the human exposure can take place. What are the different ways and means by which exposure can take place? Now there are certain arrows which are represented over here. So this particular type of arrow, it indicates the environmental routes. Okay, this two-way dotted line arrow, it indicates transfer between the different environmental compartments like air, soil, water and all. And the single-sided arrow with the dotted line, it indicates the intake through the food chain. So exposure is taking place as a part of food chain due to consumption of certain crops or maybe animals and so on. Okay, so let us see now. So this is the source from which actually the particular chemical or the particular hazard is getting exposed. Now first of all, it may get entered into the environment, right? So from here, from the source, it may enter the air. Okay, so this is the environmental route. Okay, so it is entering into the air. Then it may get entered into the soil, or it may also get entered into the surface water or groundwater. Now see what is happening over here. So these are the different environmental compartments. So you can see over here the substance may travel from either air to soil or from soil to air, or it may even get transferred from soil to the surface water and vice versa, or the substance may even move from surface water to groundwater and vice versa. So in the different compartments of the environment, the substance is getting transferred. Now further, if you can see, from air directly it may get exposed to the humans. So this is an environmental route, right? So through inhalation, certain chemical which is present in the air, it may get exposed to the human beings, or from air it may get disposed onto the crops, or from the soil it may enter into the crops, and from here by consumption of this crop. So it is a part of food chain now. This crop is being consumed by the human beings and the exposure will take place. Or from the soil it may enter into the animals. Then from the animals the human beings may consume the meat and milk. So it's a part of food chain now. Again human beings may get exposed. From surface water it may enter into the fish. Or this surface water is also utilized as drinking water, or groundwater is also utilized as drinking water by the human beings. So as a part of food chain, when human beings consume the fish or they consume the drinking water, again the human beings may get exposed. So these are the different ways and means by which the human exposure can take place. Okay, now what are the different types of exposures which may take place? So we have seen what are the different sources and what are the different pathways by which the exposure can take place. Now let us see what are the types or different potential exposure scenarios which have to be considered as a part of human risk assessment. First of all, accidental exposure may take place due to some major accident hazard. Maybe some chemical leakage may take place. It may get exposed into the air. You must be hearing about several accidents which are taking place. Okay, so accidental exposure may take place. It may be a major one. Leakage of some gases may take place. Poisonous gases may take place. So because of the inhalation of these poisonous gases, it may result in the human exposure and it may produce toxicity. Okay, or some small scale loss of control may also result in certain exposure, accidental exposure. So these are not quite very severe and this may be easily controllable. Okay, but these are quite dangerous. Okay, and the second type is the anticipatable. That is, what are the ways and means by which you can predict the exposures which may take place. So this is the accidental one. You cannot predict it. It may occur at any particular time, right? Okay, but here it is, this particular type of exposure is anticipatable. That is, you may be able to predict that such kind of exposure might take place, and it will take place. So you need to monitor these particular type of exposure. So under this, again, there are three categories. First one is deliberate. Okay, so deliberately, now human beings, they consume the drugs for certain ailments, or they apply the cosmetics, or certain foods and additives are consumed. Okay, so these are purposefully being consumed, right? Okay, so this exposure is the deliberate exposure. Okay, so any one of these may also result in toxicity. They may also act as a hazard, right? Now the second method is the direct incidental. Incidental in the sense as a consequence of some other process. Okay, now direct incidental examples include the occupational exposure or consumer products. So if, when at your workplace you may get exposed, or you are consuming some product. So here again, as a consequence of one particular act, you may end up getting exposed to an hazard. Okay. And the third type is the indirect incidental. That is either through the environmental exposure or through the diet. Okay, so these are the different types of exposures which may take place. Now we will see some of these points in little bit detail. That is exposure and the food. So from food, what are the chances of human beings getting exposed to certain chemicals? Okay, so certain food may contain certain chemicals. Okay, say for example, as we have considered this example earlier also, you are applying certain chemicals deliberately to the food crops. Maybe you are spraying some pesticides, insecticides, or to the animals for preservation maybe. Okay, because preservatives also can act as toxic substances. Or incidentally the exposure may take place. That is, it may be present in the air or in the soil, and it may get exposed to the human beings. One more example is leaching from the packaging. Okay, so nowadays a lot of packaged food is available. So from the packaging material, certain chemicals may get leached into. So here in this kind of exposures, residue levels have to be monitored. Okay. So this will help you in determining the total intake and the risk which is involved in the presence of that particular chemical. Okay. Either onto that in the food material or maybe in the packaging material. Okay. Then next is the consumer exposure. So as we consume so many products, may it be a drug or may it be eatable, okay, or any kind of cosmetics which are applied. So here the exposure may take place as you are consuming certain products. So here again deliberate exposure may take place. Okay, so here before introducing such kind of chemicals, a proper screening has to be done. Okay, so either initial screening can be done, okay, to identify the actual exposure which is taking place, and later on quantitative exposure assessment may also be done in certain circumstances to find out how much of exposure is taking place. Next is the occupational exposure. So at the workplace, again through inhalation of certain gases, the exposure may take place, or dermal contact. Your skin may come in contact with some chemical when you are handling it. At your workplace, you may be handling certain chemicals, so you may come in contact with that. Okay, so such type of exposure also should be looked out for. Okay, continuously the exposure levels have to be monitored, okay, in that ambient medium. Okay, so in that environment where you are working, you need to continuously monitor the amount of the chemical which is released or emitted, okay, even in the biological media. Okay, So in the biological media also you need to identify the exposure and the types of effects which are produced. Okay, so usually in the occupational exposure measurements, these may be available from the proper monitoring which the process which is taking place in the certain workplace. Okay, but as far as possible, monitoring data, it can be an incomplete incomplete information may be provided about the exposure in this particular model. So next one is the modeling for major industrial accident hazards. Okay, so some major accidents which may take place, so you can predict this by creating certain models. What if certain major accidental hazards are getting exposed? Okay, so what are the different chances of getting exposed by these industrial accidents? And you need to educate the people, you need to educate the workers, and you need to be prepared if such kind of industrial accidents take place. Okay, so proper models have to be designed for likely airborne exposures. May it be single for a short term exposure, or it may be a prolonged exposure. So you should be prepared for it. Okay, what if the exposure will take place? How dangerous it can be? Okay. Then next one is the environmental exposure. So far we have seen what are the different ways and means by which human exposure can take place. Okay, so human exposure assessment is done. Now coming to the environmental exposure assessment. Okay, so here this may involve a screening step, and if required you may have to go for a quantitative exposure assessment. So screening step, it is usually identifying whether what is the expected exposure which may take place, whether it is hazardous or whether it is negligible. And if it is hazardous, there may be requirement for a quantitative risk assessment. Okay, so if it is actually potentially damaging, you need to do a quantitative assessment as to how much of exposure can take place. Okay, now this environmental exposure assessment, it consists of 4 different steps. First one is identification of the target compartment, where exactly the exposure can take place. Okay, may it be air or the surface of groundwater, soil, sediment, biota. Next step is estimation of the emissions or releases, how the emission and release is taking place. Next is estimation of the environmental behavior, and the last step is estimation of environmental concentration. So let us see what exactly is done in each of this step. So the first step is identification of the target compartment. Okay, so right from the introduction of that chemical to its disposal, at which particular stage the exposure may take place. Okay, which particular environmental compartment will get exposed, that is usually studied. Okay, so maybe the various stages of life cycle of that chemical, or maybe if you are using in the manufacturing or formulation or industrial processing or professional handling or consumer use or end of product life disposal or recycling. So at any stage, which is the target compartment where it is exactly getting exposed, that you need to find out. Next step is the emission and releases. Okay, so what are the rates, what is the amount in which it is getting emitted or released into the air, soil or wastewater. Okay, so these levels need to be estimated. Okay, not only that, how exactly the environmental compartment, in the various environmental compartments, how it is getting distributed, whether it is getting transported from one region to another region, or whether it is getting transferred from one medium to the another medium. So that you need to identify. Okay, now how you will measure or how you will identify this transport of the substance in through the environment? there are two ways by which the transport of the particular substance may take place. First one is the advection, that is transport of one substance from one place to another place as a result of flow of medium. So it's the medium which is taking your substance from one place to another place. For example, the rainwater, it infiltrates into the groundwater, right? So it will enter into the soil and it will take your chemical which was there on the soil, it will take it along with it into the groundwater. So that process is known as advection. Now here, why the substance has moved from soil to groundwater? It's because of the flow of the medium. And the second one is the dispersion, that is transport from one place to another place as a result of differences between the concentration gradient. That is diffusion from maybe the surface water to the sediment. Okay, so these are the two ways by which the transport of the particular chemical may take place in between various compartments of the environment. And the last step is the estimation of the actual concentration of that chemical in the receiving compartment. So one particular compartment will be the source compartment from which it will move into another compartment. So that can be soil, air, surface water or groundwater. We have seen that substance can move from one compartment to another compartment, right? So you need to estimate exactly how much has entered into that particular compartment. Okay, so this is the one more parameter which is measured, biological concentration factor. So this is actually the amount which is present in the in a particular organism. We have also seen this under hazard characterization, right? Depending upon the biological concentration factor, that is the measured amount in a particular aquatic organism. It's a ratio, right, divided by its concentration in the medium. So that's an important factor to predict the actual exposure and actual intake by that particular organism. So this is very important. Okay, so this to do with the exposure assessment. Now coming to the last step of the risk assessment, that is risk characterization. So far you have identified what the hazard is. Okay, what is the possibility of a particular chemical to be hazardous, that is to produce certain adverse effects. We have also done hazard characterization. We have seen how much of exposure will result in certain effects, or what are the different types of effects which may be produced. And we have also seen the exposure assessment, what are the different ways and means by which the exposure can take place. Now with all these information, we need to do the characterization of this risk. Okay, so in human beings, this particular risk characterization, what exactly is done over here in this risk characterization? So it's basically a summary, integration and evaluation of the evidences and reasoning and the conclusions of the risk assessment. So whatever evidences you have collected, what is the potential damage, okay, what are the types of effects, how much concentration will produce the adverse effects, okay, or what are the types of exposures. So from all these evidences, now through different models you have studied now, how this chemical will move into the environment, how the exposure to the human beings can take place. So you now have certain evidences as far as the movement and the behavior of this particular chemical. So now you need to evaluate whether it is safe to introduce in the commerce. So it is done in this particular step, that is risk characterization. So it is a concise description of estimates of the potential risk. So what are the risks which are involved? What are the strengths and weaknesses of these estimates? These are all evaluated over here. So this particular step is purely scientific and technical. Now utilizing this particular information by taking the help of some societal, political and other factors, you are mixing these with the technical factors now in this particular step. Okay, so usually this risk characterization it is intermingled with the risk evaluation. Now, risk evaluation, it is actually the first step of the risk management. Okay, so in this particular step, usually you are evaluating your findings for setting up some guidelines towards the introduction of that particular chemical, and that's what is done in risk management also, right? Okay, so that's the reason why actually this risk characterization, which is the last step of risk assessment, and the risk evaluation, these are intermingled with each other. Okay, so it's almost the same kind of process which is carried out in these two steps. The last step of risk assessment, that is risk characterization, and the first step of risk management, that is risk evaluation. So you are assessing, depending upon your findings, you are assessing what are the benefits of introduction, how much of risk is involved, whether that risk is acceptable or not. So you are taking opinions about some other persons also, and then you are taking the ultimate decision. Okay, then environmental risk. So here again the risk characterization process is mixed with the risk evaluation. So what are the steps which are involved? Okay, what are the two levels at which the risk environmental risk characterization is done? Okay, so first level is at a qualitative risk assessment, and the second one is the quantitative assessment by using the, so here you are just categorizing it, okay, based on the type of risk which is involved, whereas in this particular step you are quantitatively assessing and you are characterizing this particular risk involved. Okay, so by utilizing these two terms, that is predicted environmental concentration and predicted no effect concentration. So these are the two concentrations which are estimated to predict or to characterize this particular risk. Okay, so this is to do with the last two steps of risk assessment, that is the exposure assessment and the risk characterization. This is the reference. Thank you.